craft.
In the craft. You saw the crystal?
There wasn't a lot. No, I was not really focused on the interior of the craft other than the crystals in front of me. And I was consciously aware of the three beings.
I mean, were they craft or were they just portals?
It was a spacecraft.
Did you see the outside, that sort of stuff?
Yeah, well, it's in the artist's picture.
Yeah. So, okay, so we won't be able to spend much time.
It was in a field. In the field behind the house.
Yes, field behind the house.
They invited me to go on board.
Yes, and so you weren't aware of going anywhere, but you were just aware of going on and then going off.
Take one.
Hello, and welcome to part 2 of our Ammach interview with Kelvin Curnow. So we're going to catch up. I'd actually forgotten to ask Kelvin about the interior of the craft that he'd been invited onto as a youngster. So I'm going to pick up that and over to Kelvin. So Kelvin, I know you said that there were crystals and that the craft was actually in a field at the back of the house and that you were invited onto the craft. So just give us your impressions about what was inside, what you saw, and anything else a detail that might be of interest.
Yeah, I felt that inside the craft, all I could really see was just white light all inside the interior of the craft.
Did it seem larger inside?
No.
It just because what sort of size was it again? Just remind me.
Roughly about 10 meters.
10 meters. Okay.
30 feet, 33 feet in diameter.
Okay, so anything on the ceiling that you probably weren't focused on that? No. So you're just aware of being with these lovely beings who are emanating only positive and loving energy.
Absolutely, yeah. And the feeling that I knew them and that they knew me.
Right. And can you remember doing anything? Sitting down, looking at anything? Standing. Did they interact with you in any other way, or was that kind of your last memory before you woke up in your bed?
That was I remember actually saying goodbye to them telepathically. I remember getting off the craft, so I remember going on the craft. I remember being on the craft. I do not recall going anywhere on the craft.
This may sound a daft thing, but did you have to go up any steps into the craft, or were you kind of levitating?
I don't remember any steps.
Right, okay. Yeah, that was just interesting. Now, we were also talking in our break about star seeds. And this kind of leads nicely on, because I've no doubt that you are one. So tell me what your feelings are about star seeds and their role at this time on the planet Earth.
Yes, I believe personally that a lot of the souls that are incarnate here on Earth at this time, who have experiences such as myself since early childhood, especially paranormal experiences with interdimensional beings, extra-dimensional beings as well. In other words, beings not of this Earth, that we are incarnate from other star systems, and we chose to be born here to be of service, of universal service, to assist in raising human consciousness on Gaia, the planet Earth.
And are you aware of where your previous home would be, or your other entity being, life, if that doesn't sound too complicated?
Can't prove it, but apparently I'm from the Pleiades in my previous incarnation, and apparently I was a fifth dimensional androgynous being.
Okay. Do you know if you had a specific role?
I know this is true, but I can't go into it right now.
All right.
It's a very private experience that I had.
Sure.
I was told this through someone who's very well known in the scientific field as well as psychology.
Okay.
And out of respect for her, as she's quite well known worldwide, I'd rather not go into the finite details.
Okay, that's absolutely fine. But you have that awareness of being
that I'm different, and that I'm not entirely human. Although I appear to be human in appearance, like many starseeds here, we are different. We do not think as normal as you would perceive to be normal human beings. Personally, I always I think on a higher level, if that makes any sense to you.
You sort of have a spiritual awareness and awareness of
certainly
other dimensionality.
Absolutely, yeah. I've had experiences with ghosts since childhood. I had someone sit on my bed just recently in the middle of the night. I felt their weight go down on the bed, on the right-hand side of my bed.
And these are positive experiences for you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Whoever was in my room that night, the entity or whatever it was, or spirit, was definitely friendly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So tell us a little bit more. So have you met yourself many of these other starseeds? Would you say?
I would say not enough of them. I've only started meeting them maybe in the last, say, 10 years.
Right.
But very, very few of them.
And do you feel that this time is now pertinent? We're now in 2012. We're a quarter of the way through. We're in March. And do you think things are speeding up?
Yes,
what's your opinion?
Absolutely, yeah. I believe that a lot of the souls that are incarnate here now, that volunteered to come to Earth for this awakening, which was prophesied by the Mayan and Hopi Indians, I believe that a lot of these souls now are coming together, and they feel it's safe to come together and to be more open with their experiences.
And how do you see the awakening as a phrase manifesting within humankind?
Okay, let's put it this way. We all have freedom of choice. This is a freedom of choice planet. It's a third dimensional freedom of choice planet, and there must never be any outside interference to interfere with with human evolution. However, the only way that the extraterrestrials could actually raise human consciousness was to request volunteer souls from other star systems to be born here, because going back to the time of the atomic bomb, which was released over Nagasaki and also in I forget Hiroshima in Japan during the Second World War, when those two bombs were released over Japan, they sent out shockwaves right through not only our solar system but our galaxy, which affected other worlds in different parallel dimensions and possibly even parallel universes as well, because there are many universes as well as different dimensions of reality. So because the highly evolved extraterrestrials that have been coming here for many thousands of years since they seeded this planet with different races, because they were so concerned of atomic energy being used for negative purposes rather than positive purposes, they requested for volunteers from other star systems to come here to
help kind of manage it, or to
raise
mitigate the conditions.
I think the primary objective was to try and assist in raising human consciousness, to say that what human beings were doing with atomic energy was not right, and that we were in danger of annihilating not only this entire planet, but also sending out.
So what's your view now of the current state of affairs, with that in mind,
right,
with the extraterrestrial benevolent influence in mind, bearing in mind that they're not supposed to be interfering with our human evolution?
The only way it can be interfered with is with souls to be born on this planet and to mingle with other human beings, and the only way you can do that is to look human. Right.
Okay. So going back to how then are they going to be impacting the evolutionary process if we're in danger of World War III, let's say? Do you think that extreme action or event might happen?
No.
Right.
Personally, I do not think that there'll be a war with Iran. This is only my own personal opinion. And
but do you base it on information or awareness of what the extraterrestrial or other dimensional intelligence, wish to transpire or wish to happen on this planet. Do you see where I'm going with that? I mean, what do you think their role is?
Right. I believe the purpose of souls that have incarnated here is to prepare human beings not only for a higher level of consciousness, where we can stop all these wars and bring more peace to this planet, and have more respect for each other. Because my philosophy is I treat everyone the same. I don't care what skin color they are. I don't care what religion they are. To me, they're just a human being. If everyone had that philosophy on this planet, or not, or not, if everyone had that philosophy on this planet, then we really truly could build a kingdom of heaven on this planet.
So let's go to then you were mentioning at some point climate change and those issues, and how do you see again that impacting our relationship with the others that are interfacing with us now, vis-a-vis catastrophes and that kind of thing?
Right. I think you cannot rule out that some of the so-called earthquakes, etc. More recently in Japan, we had that terrible tsunami.
Do you think any of those are human induced?
Yes, I was just about to move on to that.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, some of the although some of the natural earth changes, as prophesied by the Hopi and the Mayan Indians, were actually how can I put this? They were meant to be very, very gentle, as gentle as possible.
Right.
The more people that are awake and aware of what's going on in the world, moving up to a higher level of consciousness, the more gentle these earth changes will be.
Right.
But unfortunately, we have dark side people who work for the dark side cabals in the secret societies that actually feel they have a right to have the right to actually depopulate the planet, and therefore, yes, they are inducing man-made earthquake activity, such as what we saw in Haiti, also in New Zealand, in Chile, and more recently in Japan.
Right. And are you aware, I mean, I don't know, whether there is support and help for the planetary structure and infrastructure as a being, as a body, from these others who have benevolent intentions for humanity and the earth, in mitigating those negatively induced factors?
Okay. It's a universal law that there must not be any outside interference, as I mentioned earlier on, that the souls incarnate here had to come from the outside to work from the inside to break the system down. So yes, there must not be any interference.
But there's clearly a relationship.
Yeah.
An insider's relationship then. So
the extraterrestrials that are here right now, in the ships that are around the Earth right now, NASA knows about them. Most of the world's major governments know about these crafts that are there. Many of them cannot be seen on third-dimensional space. As I mentioned earlier, I've taken pictures of craft on digital camera. And
tell us a little bit about, you were telling me about some material you'd seen recently of chemtrails, and there was some interception by another body that was not of human kind.
Apparently there was two I believe aircraft, whether they were military fuel tankers or airliners or whatever, going across Germany, I believe. They were intercepted by apparently a mothership that was up to 2 miles long.
Right. And this is this year?
Yeah.
Right.
Recently.
Okay. Right. And so, and again, from that material, what did you pick up? I mean, was the ship clearing up the chemtrails, sort of neutralising what they were?
Yes, I believe they're actually.
Is that your understanding?
Yeah. They They were invited
Gosh,
to come
they've got a lot
here.
of work to do then, haven't they?
They were invited to come here.
Right.
We have to do this work as human beings. We have to clear up our own mess, basically. We cause this mess on this planet, the environmental destruction that's going on at the moment, the wars that are going on. The wars, of course, we all know, are funded by the banking institutions.
Right.
Incidentally, I was told also when I was on board the craft when I was 15 that I will witness many things within my lifetime around about the year 2011, 2012.
Okay.
That would involve massive climate change, where there would be millions of people crossing international borders in search of food and water. I was also told of the collapse of apartheid in South Africa.
Right.
I was also told of the collapse of the Berlin Wall, the collapse of the Soviet bloc.
Yeah.
And also, but the big one for me was the possible. I say possible because nothing is set in stone. There are different timeline scenarios, but they can be changed if we can raise human consciousness. The big one for me was the possible revolution or civil war within the United States within my lifetime. And I think that is very, very close right now.
I've heard that as a possibility as well, when they finally wake up and find out what's been going on.
Yeah.
However, that's not going to be good.
The way I see it, the United States has had its constitution ripped apart by the current government in the White House.
Actually, yeah.
Well, George Bush family. People are. I think that people are just having their freedoms just taken away from them.
We're doing quite well with that in the UK with all the surveillance we have, and our liberties being encroached on, big
absolutely.
style. So, I mean, it's like, you know, arm in arm with the States.
So, at the worst scenario, yes, if the American public do not wake up quickly enough, yes, we could see a very bloody revolution or civil war within the United States. And if the United States goes down, then there's not much hope for the rest of us, because then all the other Western so-called free democracies will also fall like dominoes as well.
So that was one
So we have
set
to help
possible,
America.
one possible set of outcomes. What about any others that you saw? Was that was the biggest one? So were there other options to that particular timeline? Did you see other pathways that could be experienced?
Yeah. We have just gone through the age of 2,000 years of the age of Pisces, which was male energy, hence all the wars that we've had on this planet. We're about to enter the age of Aquarius, which is female energy. And so we've had the Kali Yuga, and now we're moving into Sat Yuga. And the way I see it, things are moving in a positive way. And I believe, and in fact, I feel very much so that there's more light now on the planet than there has ever been.
Right. Well, that's good news. That's good news.
And I believe that, although I don't believe in all these like scenarios of 2012 being the end of the world, etc., I see it as a time of a new beginning and a new Earth birthing into the fifth dimensional vibratory frequency.
Do you think that there is, people talk about another Earth in another dimension? Is this in your awareness?
Yes. I've been aware of this for about 20 years, that many of the souls that hopefully will move on to the other Earth that's been prepared. I don't know a great deal about it, but I am aware of it, that there is some kind of other fifth dimensional planet Earth that we're birthing into. Okie
dokie. And so those who are stuck in this energetic element will stay here, is on this 3D Earth?
They will stay with their vibration.
Yes. Okay.
I also know for a fact that, although I can't prove it, that as the Earth is ascending from the third dimensional to the fifth dimensional vibration, that more and more people worldwide will see these spacecraft or so-called UFO activity increase as more and more are opening up their third eye to a high level of consciousness.
Yeah.
We're actually entering their airspace. They're not entering our airspace.
Okay. So just to just go back to the possible demise, let's hope not, but that vision of the states there. So the other road then will be what? That enough people wake up to mitigate that kind of level of confusion and anger, and so do not go on the offensive or defensive against the state. Is that what? Well, if people go on the offensive and there is this bloody revolution, that's one picture. Is there another picture very definitely and very viable as an option where enough of a vibrational level is reached, that 100th monkey thing, where people will go, okay, this is terrible, this is horrible, but we don't need to go and hang anybody for it. We don't need, we need to focus on now moving ahead out of this horrible condition.
I think that
take back our constitution.
I think that the majority of the chiefs of staff at the Pentagon have good intentions for the American people, and they want to bring back the Constitution for the Republic of the United States.
Okay.
And bring back people's freedoms.
So this is just putting me in mind of some of the work of Benjamin Fulford now, the Canadian guy who lives out in Japan, who has been now...
A man I have great respect for.
Yeah, so you were again referencing him in the break, and I wonder if you could perhaps feel comfortable bringing some of what he has been putting out there, because you also said that you can see that happening too. And I'm specifically referencing the change at the top of the tree that's about to be incepted if it's not already occurring.
Yes. One of the things that I was told when I was 15 on board this craft, which I obviously downloaded later on in life when I was more mature, was a total collapse of the current global financial system.
Right. Well, we are in meltdown anyway, so not far from that one.
You see, I look at money as just being an illusion. We've only had money for about 2,000 years since the Romans were paying their soldiers with salt bags of salt as a currency before they introduced metal coins.
Yeah, absolutely.
2,000 years is just a little blink in the human activity on planet Earth. We've got by without money before, so we have free energy here if this energy were not so suppressed.
Yes, of course.
Well,
we have our own John Searle here in the UK. I mean, his system has been around since the 40s, when he first discovered levitation techniques, and again, like Tesla, bringing energy out of the ambient atmosphere. So anyway.
Yes, so it's a monetary system that is, to my own opinion, is corrupt right from the very, very top. We've seen, I think, well over 3,000 bankers resign just in the last 2 or 3 months worldwide. And I think this is very encouraging, because I believe that according to Ben Fulford, that they're going to be introducing a much more ethical financial system that is not so corrupt.
Right.
Because all this funding of the wars, let's face it, I mean, the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, who do they benefit? The way I see it, they just benefit the banks.
The warmongers.
Absolutely. And billions and billions of dollars worth of arms contracts. They don't. These wars do not benefit humankind.
No. Okay. Well, I really want to bring you to that other aspect of our chat in the break, and you were telling me that you had actually made representation to the Thatcher government at one point, and perhaps just take us through that experience of what you were wanting to achieve and who you saw to speak to about your feelings about the ETs on this planet.
Yeah, well, very briefly, I'm aware about 20 years ago I was aware that there was an emergency cabinet meeting called by Margaret Thatcher, who was then the Prime Minister.
Right.
And it was regarding extraterrestrial or interdimensional craft entering UK airspace,
Right.
as well as crop circles manifesting around the southern England, especially in particular in the Wiltshire and Hampshire area. And I was quite concerned that military aircraft had been sent up to intercept these craft in UK airspace, because these craft are actually usually they're very, very friendly. They have the best of intentions, and it's a shame that the RAF or other foreign air forces are aggressive towards these craft, because they do come in here. Most of them come in here. I say most of them because not all of them have good intentions, but most of them come here with the best of intentions. And now there are so many of them.
But we wouldn't know, would
the
we?
negative ones are actually staying away from Earth now.
All right. I was going to say we wouldn't be able to distinguish, would we, as humans and from the radar, who's a goodie and who's a baddie?
Probably wouldn't. No.
How could we discern that?
Yeah.
It's an issue, isn't it? I mean, that's why we need more.
Let's put it
exposure.
this way. I would think if they had negative intentions, I'm sure they would have invaded us a long time ago.
Right. Yeah. Not doing it via a sneaky route.
So I at the time I arranged a meeting with a gentleman called Nick Pope, who was then Secretariat General at the Ministry of Defence in Whitehall,
still in post,
London.
Yeah.
Sorry?
Still in post. He was still at his job.
He was then, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, he was, yeah. And I went with a friend of mine who was a parapsychologist. Right. We tried to keep a low profile at the time.
And what was actually your intention? What was your meeting going to
convey? To convey a message to Nick Pope that almost all of the craft that are coming into UK airspace, or any other national airspace, international airspace for that matter, worldwide, has the best of intentions and is not a threat to the human race. In fact, they're here to protect us from other negative ETs, if the truth be known. And I asked him to convey this to the powers that be in the British government.
And what was his response to your missive?
Well, he listened to what we had to say, and we had a very, very long meeting. It was in a bar underground.
That sounds relevant, doesn't it?
Not far from Trafalgar Square.
Okay.
And we must have been with him probably at least 4, maybe 5 hours.
Oh, really?
The three of us.
Yeah. So was then he quizzing you on, what your experiences had been and that kind of thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a two-way conversation going on there.
Yes.
But our intentions were, the reason why I set up this meeting was to convey to the British government that the craft that are coming here
so it sounds like you were a little bit of an ambassador in that respect. I mean,
I wouldn't put it that way, but
right.
I felt that I was trying to protect our brothers and sisters that are up there.
Okay. And had you had any definite information to this effect that they would find it helpful if you did this, if you had this meeting, or was this just off your own idea?
I set up this meeting myself personally.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you didn't do it because they said, "Listen, we need a bit more help here. Could you go and see somebody and let them know?"
I got the impression that the British government at the time, when Margaret Thatcher was Prime Minister, was concerned of the UFO activity in UK airspace. And I just wanted to convey to the government that, through Nick Pope, that the craft that are coming in have positive intentions.
Okay. And what did he say he was going to do with that information?
He didn't say what he would do with that information.
Did you have any more connections?
I assumed he passed on the message. I have no idea.
Right, okay. So that was the end of that?
I left it with him.
Okay, so no more communication about that from his end or your end? Okay.
No. I don't think it was Jesus Christ's intention when he was born on this earth to actually start a new religion,
right?
i.e. known as Christianity.
Yeah.
Jesus was sent here, or volunteered maybe to come here to raise human consciousness.
Do you think he was purely human?
No, absolutely not. In fact, I'll tell you a little story. When I was 13 years old, I was in a religious knowledge class, which was half an hour every week, and the teacher asked the classroom what was the Star of Bethlehem. And I put my hand up and I said it was a spaceship, miss. And she said, well, why was it a spaceship then? I said, because the three kings followed it across the night sky, across the Sinai Desert for 3 nights. I said, and stars don't move, miss. So it had to be an artificial object that the 3 kings were following across the sky for 3 nights.
Very bright.
But she still gave me 100 lines. The Star of Bethlehem was not a spaceship. I had to write that.
Oh, really?
I had to write that 100 times for homework. The Star of Bethlehem was not a spaceship.
And on the back, but really it was. Okay. So you were also telling us a bit earlier that near where you live, there is a little island off
Cornwall.
Off Cornwall, and I forget what it's called, but Joseph of Arimathea is purported to have taken his nephew there. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. When
being Jesus, of course.
Yes, when Jesus's wealthy uncle Joseph of Arimathea, who was a trader, went to Cornwall to trade, I suppose, minerals, perhaps gold, silver, copper, tin. Just like the Romans did in Cornwall. Apparently Jesus was actually left on Loo Island, otherwise known as St. George's Island in Cornwall, before he went on to Glastonbury when he was a boy.
Right.
Again, it's only legendary that this actually happened, of course. It's just like St. Michael's Mount in Cornwall, again legendary, that apparently Archangel Michael was seen blowing trumpets with angels in the sky above St. Michael's Mount.
Oh right, yes.
In Mounts Bay in Cornwall, by some Cornish fishermen, hence the reason why St. Michael's Mount became a holy place, and then so about 400 years after the 8th century, a monastery was built there, just like in Mont-Saint-Michel in Normandy.
Yes, I've been to that one. Yeah. It's a lovely place. Lovely place. And it's also where the ley lines are, of course. It's very strong there, isn't it? Which may be another reason why there's a lot of sightings in that neck of the woods. Yeah,
well, you've got the Michael line going up through Cornwall there.
You were mentioning that before.
And also the Mary line, which goes up through the stone circles, which go up right through to Glastonbury, Avebury, etc. Yeah. And the St. Germain line cuts right through South East Cornwall, up through Wales, through Scotland, over the North Pole. And incidentally, I've had numerous experiences with craft in Loo Bay in Cornwall. I had a home there for 12 years. I didn't spend a lot of time.
Do you think they were in the sea, coming from? Do you think they were going, moving from one place to another over the sea, or do you think they were actually having bases in the sea?
I never saw any craft go into the sea.
Right, okay.
But I saw craft coming in to our dimension. They would just blink, start flashing from nowhere. Clear night sky, and like they were interdimensional. And I was convinced that there was an interdimensional portal in Loo Bay in Cornwall.
Right, and is that something that you would deduce from seeing those lights sort of suddenly appear and disappear, or are you able to see anything physically? You know, like sometimes a portal door or doorway has been described as sort of like a heat haze shimmering. I mean, I just wondered if you'd seen anything in the material that
to me they were physical. The lights, the craft.
The lights, the craft, but actually the entrance to the portal, or that kind of...
Like a ring around it or whatever? No, nothing
some
like that.
Some gateway, some doorway.
No.
No, so,
no,
okay.
No.
Right, okay.
No. I know that there's a portal between Rame Head and Loo Island. And it's probably about seven, maybe 8 miles wide across the bay.
And have you ever noticed any particular military activity around that neck of the woods as a consequence of?
Not really, no.
Okay.
No.
That's interesting then.
Yeah. I mean, there is a naval base nearby in Plymouth. But one night I counted 11 craft coming in to third dimensional airspace.
And again,
they just manifested.
So you'd see them, and would there be any of the telepathic communication that you've had before?
Yes.
Okay.
I was woken up about 2 a.m. in the middle of the night. And when I went to sleep most of the time, because I lived right on top of a cliff overlooking the ocean.
Right.
And I would leave the curtains open at night, and quite often I would leave the window open so I could hear the sea. And about 2 a.m. one night, I woke up, and something said to me to go to the window, like when I had an experience when I was 11 years old.
Okay.
I went to the window when I got out of bed, and there was maybe 2 or 3 craft just coming in. They start blinking and they jump.
Okay.
And whether if it's a helicopter or an airplane, you get a sound. These were quite close. They were no more than about half a mile offshore from the beach below, about 400 feet below the cliffs. And eventually I counted 11 of them all together, and they just started blinking all over the bay, one after the other. Usually whitish, silvery colour.
And so what did you pick up from that? Apart from seeing them, did you get any other, telepathic information or communication? No. Just that they were there.
Yeah.
Does this indicate anything for you? Does this tell you anything?
I am aware that a lot of the sightings worldwide have generally been on energy points.
Right.
Energy points, as in like acupuncture points. You have the Saint Germain line cutting through Loo Bay, near Rame Head, going north, up through Wales and over Scotland and over the North Pole. A lot of the stone circles worldwide, be it in England or in Brittany, in France, you will find a lot of so-called UFO activity. It's where they're actually repairing the energy grid lines.
Oh, right.
They're like acupuncture points within the Earth.
So you think that they're mainly here now to repair Gaia's grid?
Yeah,
perhaps.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
They're here to be of universal service.
Yeah. And do you do any work yourself in let's say the universal service? I know we're speaking now, and this is part of helping to awaken and to pinpoint for people what's going on for other folk. Do you do any other work, meditation-wise or energy work for the planet?
I've gone to many stone circles in my lifetime, all over the United Kingdom, from Cornwall to Scotland. On many occasions, when I've been doing meditation work in these circles, I have had interaction with these craft telepathically.
Right. Do you think they're mainly Pleiadian craft?
No. There are many.
So there's a host of them.
Yeah, there's beings here from the Pleiades, from Arcturus, from Andromeda. There are so many star people here.
Right, and do you think they're working in concert, as in somebody, an association with a plan in mind of supporting Earth?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
The only way I can equate to it being is that on Earth we have it's what I call the secret part of the secret government. It's the United Nations.
Yeah, indeed. Indeed. It's like the opposite, the positive of United Nations, except the United Star Nations.
Yeah, exactly. Like a federation of planets.
Right. Okay. Okay.
You know, I am aware that the programs that were brought out by, I mean, like Star Trek, which was brought out by the late Gene Roddenberry. Yeah. This was all channeled information. Gene Roddenberry actually had an experience. I can't remember if it was in the California or in the Nevada desert, where he actually went on board a craft.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
And he was told to actually start the Star Trek series as a way of raising awareness to people that we really are not the only ones in this universe, and other universes of reality that are on our own. We actually, the Earth is actually a school. We're a third-dimensional planet. It's not a planet that many of the star beings that are incarnate here are used to. The density, it's very, very dense here. The energy is very dense here.
I think it is. Yeah.
You know, a lot of the star people that are here, human incarnate, come from star systems where there's no war, there's no monetary system. It's all just respect for one another. The way I see it, that the Earth on the spiritual aspect is at the bottom rung of the ladder.
Right.
And it's a place where there are souls here from good and bad, what you may call ET incarnate.
Right.
Who are, how can I put it? If you have an issue with somebody here in this lifetime, this third-dimensional lifetime, and you don't get on well with that person, then it's quite possible that you may have some kind of karmic debt to pay with that person, and vice versa, from previous incarnations elsewhere. That's the way I see it, anyway.
And you see it relating also to the ET faction, no different?
No different.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So have you then been given any kind of time frame on any coming together of or closing of the Cabal doorway, and this moving through into a time of peace? I mean, do you get a sensing, or have you been told, you know, it's going to happen in your lifetime? So
absolutely. So
what's going to happen in your lifetime? It could be really a positive thing too. It doesn't have to be
absolutely. Yeah.
Is that your overall feeling? I mean, we know that we're on the, you know, potentially on the brink of a lot of horrible stuff, but I think we're also on the potentially on the brink of a lot of amazing stuff as well that most of the public at large don't know about. Correct. And we're just sort of aware in this small genre, this small field of awareness.
I think that the world's media is controlled by very, very few people.
That's right.
And that the only way to really find out any real information, if you really truly respect freedom of speech and to live in a so-called democratic society, is through the World Wide Web, the internet.
Right.
Which was incidentally brought here by extraterrestrials as well.
Tell me about that.
It was actually, I believe it was actually channeled through. When scientists here on Earth have inventions, like Tesla, for instance.
Well, he definitely wasn't of this planet.
Yeah. They're working on another level of consciousness.
Sure.
Yeah.
So you say the internet was given to us. Yeah. I mean, have you been told that, or is that just a deduction from?
According to my knowledge, initially it was used by the American military.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And then it was actually then used to the American university system, and then it went worldwide. But because it was used by the American military, it was given to them. There have been bases on this planet for quite a few decades now of ETs that have been actually interacting with governments on Earth. And in exchange for technologies, they were given bases here. Most of the bases are actually underground, many in mountainous areas worldwide. You may ask why they were in mountainous areas, because, well, mountains actually, they have a lot of crystal energy.
True.
I love crystals. I think they give out a very positive energy.
Yes. So it's a bit like the tall whites that Charles Hall met when he was out in Indian Springs for a couple of years in the 60s doing his weather recording and that kind of thing. So clearly they wouldn't have been there, the tall whites, without some kind of agreement. So, and he's on record for talking about that. So clearly there's something going on. So I'm quite positive. I feel a bit more upbeat now that we...
Absolutely. I think I think the general public worldwide is going to witness great changes in the next few months.
Right.
Leading up to the 21st December 2012.
What do you think comes after that?
I like to think that we will have a golden age as prophesized by the Hopi.
Okay. And are you doing personally anything to prepare yourself, your home, your life in any way, your personal living space to accommodate changes? Because I've had to try and adapt to, how can I put it? I've been going through a cleansing period myself. Yeah. In the last, say, 5 years. And how has that manifested for you?
I was going through a point in my life where I felt I was being attacked by dark energies, trying to keep me down, and it was affecting me. It was like being taken over by maybe another entity, perhaps, or
like
whatever.
Psychic attack.
Maybe, perhaps a psychic attack. I don't know. But I have witnessed experience where I actually had an entity walking towards me. I could not see the entity, but I could see the grass move in front of me.
All right.
The grass was about maybe 2 feet high.
Oh, okay.
Wild grass, and walking towards me.
And that didn't feel good.
I didn't get a very good vibe off it.
And what did you do? What measures did you take with that entity?
I try not to show any fear, and I said, if you are not of the light, please do not come any closer. And I just very, very gradually and calmly just sat up off the bench that I was sitting on at the time. I was on a cliff in Cornwall. It was the night of a full moon, and I just been to a meditation, but I wasn't sure what to make of this entity, but I think we're all going through a cleansing period at this stage.
So that to you was quite pivotal in that you stood your ground as what I would call a sovereign being and sort of out of the light.
I deliberately would not. I just refused to show any fear.
Yeah. Okay. And then
I didn't run.
Did it just
like
dissipate?
Most people would.
Yeah. Did it just dissipate, that entity? Did it?
Yeah.
Desist. Change direction.
I just got up and I didn't see it move backwards.
Oh right. So
it just stood there in front of me. It was invisible. But it was obviously there because I saw the grass.
Sure.
About 2 feet high. Moving towards me. It was just like spreading like this.
And did it just disappear?
I couldn't see I could not see.
No, but I mean, did the energy just dissipate once you'd stood your ground?
I really don't know.
I can't remember.
But when I got up, I did not feel threatened by it.
Right. Okay.
And I just left very calmly and continued walking up the cliff to where I lived.
Good for you. Yeah. So cleansing can often put people in a state of health conditions as well. So has that also been an experience for you that you, in these 5 years of cleansing, as you've called it, that's happened as well, that you've had health issues, or has that been okay for you?
I must admit that I've been very blessed in this incarnation, that I have perfect health.
Good, fantastic. Glad to hear it. That's lovely.
And I actually I believe that if people meditate more often than they do, then this can also
sure,
it's good for your well-being.
Sure,
yeah.
Absolutely. So, have you got any other thoughts or tips for our listeners and viewers before we draw to a close?
Don't worry about the future. The planet is going through a massive change as a living entity within itself, and a lot of the human beings on this planet, most of them will be shifting into that dimensional reality once the Earth shifts into the fifth dimension.
Right. Okay.
Don't worry about the doom and gloom stuff about 2012. This is it's not going to happen. It's all. I see a very, very bright, beautiful future ahead of us, and we have a lot to look forward to.
That's great, Miles. I don't know if you've got anything that you want to add or you'd like to ask before we.
I see a future without any war and lots of love and peace on the planet.
How do we wake people up most effectively, and how do we action that waking up? It's one thing being woken up, but it's another thing actioning it. How do you feel people can action their higher awareness? What's the most positive thing for them to do?
Right. I think that a good example of what your question is the Occupy movement in the United States, which has now gone global, worldwide.
Now that has been criticised for being heavily compromised by third-party Illuminati agents and things.
Absolutely, you're right.
What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, I see it as a positive aspect, a raising of human consciousness on the planet. That the majority of people on this planet, the so-called 99%, have had enough of all the wars, all the killing, and the banking institutions controlling our lives, basically.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this was not meant to be a slave planet. We should be living here in peace and harmony.
With free will.
With free will.
Well, I'll go with that.
Yeah, and also I think that you know, we're all on this planet to grow spiritually, of course, because this is all part of our evolvement before we move on to other levels of dimensional realities.
Yeah. Bearing
in mind that the Earth is the bottom rung of the ladder, you've got to start somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And none of us are perfect. Everyone is equal as far as the Prime Creator is concerned. And but some of us are just more evolved than others. We're just at different levels of each other than other people.
Yeah, yeah. So have you got, just to wrap up then, have you got anything that you're focusing on or doing yourself in the near future to help facilitate your furtherance of this wellness?
I'm planning to do some more talks later this year.
And of course you're going to be a speaker at our conference, which is going to be great.
Yes.
Thank you for that.
And I'm planning a trip to India later this year.
Oh, are you as well?
Mm-hmm.
And will you be talking at the same place? Talking?
That's my intention.
Yeah, lovely.
To visit various gurukulams and ashrams around
lovely.
parts of India.
I'll be interested to have some feedback and hear how that goes in time.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, Kelvin Curnow, thank you very much for being here.
You're very welcome.
Thank you for watching. This was another Ammach interview, and we were with Kelvin Curnow. Thank you. Bye for now. In our break about star seeds.
Mm-hmm.
And this kind of leads nicely on, because I've no doubt that you are one. So tell me what your feelings are about star seeds and their role at this time on the planet Earth.
Yes, I believe personally that a lot of the souls that are incarnate here on Earth at this time, who have experiences such as myself since early childhood, especially paranormal experiences with interdimensional beings, extra-dimensional beings as well. In other words, beings not of this Earth, that we are incarnate from other star systems, and we chose to be born here to be of service, of universal service, to assist in raising human consciousness on Gaia, the planet Earth.
And are you aware of where your previous home would be, or your other entity being, life, if that doesn't sound too complicated?
Can't prove it, but apparently I'm from the Pleiades in my previous incarnation.
Right. And anything else that a detail that might be of interest?
Yeah, I felt that inside the craft, all I could really see was just white light all inside the interior of the craft.
Did it seem larger inside?
No.
It just because what sort of size was it again? Just remind me.
Roughly about 10 meters.
10 meters. Okay.
30 feet. Yes. 33 feet in diameter.
Okay. So anything on the ceiling that you probably weren't focused on that.
No.
So you're just aware of being with these lovely beings who are emanating only positive and loving energy.
Absolutely, yeah. And the feeling that I knew them and that they knew me.
Right. And can you remember doing anything? Sitting down, looking at anything? Standing. Did they interact with you in any other way, or was that kind of your last memory before you woke up in your bed?
That was. I remember actually saying goodbye to them telepathically. I remember getting off the craft. So I remember going on the craft. I remember being on the craft. Right. I do not recall going anywhere on the craft.
This may sound a daft thing, but did you have to go up any steps into the craft, or were you kind of levitating?
I don't remember any steps.
Right, okay. Yeah, that was just interesting. Now, we were also talking...
Apparently, I was a fifth dimensional androgynous being.
Okay. Do you know if you had a specific role?
I know this is true, but I can't go into it right now.
All right.
It's a very private experience that I had.
Sure.
I was told this through someone who is very well known in the scientific field as well as psychology.
Okay.
And out of respect for her, as she's quite well known worldwide, I'd rather not go into the finite details.
Okay, that's absolutely fine. But you have that awareness of being
yes,
a Pleiadian.
that I'm different, that I'm not entirely human. Although I appear to be human in appearance, like many starseeds here, we are different. We do not think as normal as you would perceive to be normal human beings. Personally, I always I think on a higher level. If that makes any sense to you.
You sort of have a spiritual awareness and awareness of
certainly
other dimensionality.
Absolutely, yeah. I've had experiences with ghosts since childhood. I had someone sit on my bed just recently in the middle of the night. I felt their weight go down on the bed on the right hand side of my bed. In the craft. You saw the crystal? There wasn't a lot. No, I was not really focused on the interior of the craft other than the crystals in front of me. And I was consciously aware of the three beings.
I mean, were they craft or were they just portals?
It was a spacecraft.
Did you see the outside, that sort of stuff?
Yeah, well, it's in the artist's picture.
Yeah. So, okay, so we won't be able to spend much time
in the field. In the field behind the house. So
yes, field behind the house.
They invited me to go on board.
Yes, and so you weren't aware of going anywhere, but you were just aware of going on and then going off.
Take one.
Hello and welcome to part 2 of our Ammach interview with Kelvin Curnow. So we're going to catch up. I'd actually forgotten to ask Kelvin about the interior of the craft that he'd been invited onto as a youngster. So I'm going to pick up that and over to Kelvin. So Kelvin, I know you said that there were crystals and that the craft was actually in a field at the back of the house and that you were invited onto the craft. So
yes.
Just give us your impressions about what was inside, what you saw. And these are positive experiences for you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Whoever was in my room that night, the entity, whatever it was, or spirit, it was definitely friendly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So tell us a little bit more. So have you met yourself many of these other starseeds? Would you say?
I would say not enough of them. I've only started meeting them maybe in the last, say, 10 years,
right?
But very, very few of them.
And do you feel that this time is now pertinent? We're now in 2012. We're a quarter of the way through. We're in March, and do you think things are speeding up?
Yes,
what's your opinion?
Absolutely. Yeah, I believe that a lot of the souls that are incarnate here now, that volunteered to come to Earth for this awakening, which was prophesied by the Mayan and Hopi Indians. I believe that a lot of these souls now are coming together, and they feel it's safe to come together and to be more open with their experiences.
And how do you see the awakening as a phrase manifesting within humankind?
Okay, let's put it this way. We all have freedom of choice. This is a freedom of choice planet. It's a third dimensional freedom of choice planet.